So we'll start with our official hello now. So hi guys, thank you so much for
Hello.
me. We've got Jeremy Weiss from the CI Companies and Launch Music Conference and Showcase Festival. And we've got Randy Nichols from Force Management. And why don't, Jeremy, why don't you introduce yourself and then Randy.
Yeah, I'm Jeremy. I've been producing the Launch Music Conference and Festival since 2009. We're going into our 12th year, almost exclusively a digital year, as well as began promoting concerts at age 15, about 30, that's all I'm giving you, years ago. And yeah, it's been a music life.
Cool, yeah. So I'm Randy Nichols, band manager, consultant for some startups. And there's Jeremy. You can introduce yourself next, Jeremy.
All right.
So I manage a band called Under Oath. I manage an artist called The Almost, Vacationer. And in addition to that, on the consulting side, I've worked with a bunch of different startups, but the ones I'm most involved with is I was an early investor in Bands in Town. I'm deeply involved with a company called At Venue, which is a platform that better helps artists, promoters, and festivals manage their touring merchandise business. And yeah, and I like to try to get outside once in a while and go surfing, which is a nice socially distanced activity.
Awesome. Well,
And this will be the perfect segue to Jeremy. I've seen pictures of his kids surfing online.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago though. She just skateboards a little bit now. So are we doing an introduction? Sorry, I'm late. There was a Zoom that I was finishing up, but I was kind of doing that, trying to.
no problem. Appreciate you being
Yeah,
here.
sorry about that. So we're doing introductions and just history and everything. Cool. All right. Jeremy Holgerson. I started at a company called Artist and Audience with Randy Nichols back in the day. I don't know if you mentioned that.
I did not.
Yeah, out of college. That was where I got my start. I was an intern. And I think Randy had just been promoted, and then I was there and got two of the agents, Sam Kirby and Ken Famegos, who were there, were being promoted and needed an assistant, and I moved into that slot right after Randy. And then I was Randy and Ken's assistant. And then I went to a company called the Agency Group with Ken Famegos, and I was there, been there my whole career. Up until the agency group was purchased by a company called United Talent Agency about 4 or 5 years ago, which is a full service agency with like talent, film, TV. Agency group was more music only agency with offices in London, Toronto, Nashville, Malmo, and Los Angeles. And my career, I've worked with all styles of music, sorts of music through the years. Early on with a lot of metal and emo punk acts from like Poison the Well and Hatebreed and Glassjaw, Finger Eleven, Hawthorne Heights, to in past 10 to 15 years I've moved into doing some more hip hop stuff and R&B, like reggae, like Miss Lauryn Hill and G-Eazy and Action Bronson, Protege. Still work with a lot of metal and punk acts like Apocalyptica and Suicidal Tendencies and Bad Brains when they work. So a wide range of things through the years and a lot of interesting characters and different stories and different tours through the years.
I appreciate bringing your expertise to this workshop today. And so this is kind of a Launch Music Conference reunion of sorts. So I've spoken at the conference and worked with Jeremy on it for Jeremy Weiss. I'm going to have to use your last names because we've got two Jeremys on here. So partnered with Jeremy for a while and really enjoy the conference so much. Randy has spoken at it several times, and Jeremy Holgerson, I understand you were a speaker at the very first one.
Was that the very first one that I was at?
It was.
Was that 10 years ago now?
Yeah, about 12 years. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So
It was so perfectly orchestrated that you didn't know it was the first one. Is that right? Yeah.
It would, I wouldn't have known that was the first year. It was great.
So
It's just stayed the same every year.
consistency is good, right?
Yeah, thank you, Jen.
So we're going
I feel like you sold me on other people that had done it before. So I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
this is the first time finding out that it was the first year, I guess.
Jeremy, he's a promoter. What do you expect?
It's a hustle, man. It's a hustle.
So one of the things we're going to start out talking about is how everybody and why these panelists ended up at the Launch Music Conference in the first place, what they are trying to get out of going to an event like that. So we've got, and ultimately in this workshop, I want to answer the question of what do a promoter, an agent, and a manager, what are they looking for in artists that want to get noticed and seen and get representation and get shows booked? So that's the kind of the big picture question that we're going to address. So I want to start with Jeremy Weiss. Putting on a conference, you've got industry professionals coming and you've got artists coming. How is this all kind of connecting for people?
I think it's important to, like the folks on this screen right now, one of the things I focus on with would-be panelists or educators is how willing they are to engage with artists. I think that a lot of these similarly styled events, I think we'd all agree, are really early developing artists. So I think it's really important. It's been important to me to make sure that we have a nice conversation about, hey, are you open to having your mind blown? Is there still like a window, a little crack in the opening there that somebody could sneak in and blow your mind? I think that's really important for the artists. And as far as the artists are concerned, we do spend a lot of time, first of all, selecting, out of thousands of submissions. There's a board of 8. It's got to have at least 4 sets of ears on every submission. It takes a long time. And what we look for are those folks that, by the estimation of the board, can have the best opportunity to blow minds. And we try to spend a good deal of time, as you know, telling them how to interact healthily and appropriately with these professionals so that they can hopefully have the best effect.
Randy, I know you've come to Launch a number of times. What brings you back every year to an experience like this?
It's interesting. It's 2 things. One, I enjoy just kind of interacting with and meeting artists and giving them advice. And I had just such a unique experience with Launch over any other developing artist conference, where the first year I had an artist sign up to do a mentorship session with me, gave them a list of advice, and they came back to me in the mentorship session year 2, told me we did everything and it worked. What's next? And I've found that, like, I've met with this band every year since and watched their career grow. And it's just, it's fun to be able to help some acts. We may not have time to manage them, but genuinely help people and see those results. Because we do these things not because we want to see our name up and like feel important. Like we genuinely care about developing and helping artists. So it's fun to see success and results from doing that. And the one other thing really quickly that I like is, because Launch was a smaller conference than some of the others out there, there was always just a select group of like major players in the industry, and it gave us all a chance to really hang out and spend quality time together that we don't get to do in some of the more massive events.
It is always a good hang, especially the 4 a.m. pizza party in the lobby of the hotel.
Exactly.
Jeremy Holgerson, when you're going to a conference like Launch, what are the things that you're trying to get out of your experience attending?
I'm always interested, as we do this a lot and been doing this a while, to hear what, other people's perspectives are and what younger, kids and aspiring kids in the industry are interested in, what questions they're asking, what their goals are, because I think that, reinvigorates what I do, and also gives me a different perspective on thinking about how I do things and what kids are thinking. Kids because we're but thinking about what the younger generations and also seeing those kids that are coming up the pike that are going to be the next Jeremy Weiss's, Randy Nichols, me, the next tour managers, the next band the band that like has the guy in the band that's like the leader of the band that eventually maybe becomes the manager or does everything, and like talking to those folks and seeing those folks and hearing all those different perspectives. That's always one of the most exciting things, because when you meet someone at a conference like that and then 5 years later they're at a label or a manager, or you see them on the road, you kind of see the growth. It's really cool.
Yeah. just a note to the folks in the audience, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A and I will address them as we can. It's easier for me than if you put them in the chat. So back to business here. So Jeremy, you have thousands, I'm going to have to work on the last names. Jeremy White, you have thousands of submissions every year for launch. You've got a panel of 8 people with at least 4 ears and eyes on determining who you're able to place for your showcases. And you end up putting a couple hundred bands on stage over the course of 3 days. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. It's a tireless effort during that period. Launch is planned in waves. So you're starting out trying to promote that submissions are open. Then you're procuring some what we call marquee showcases, because it's kind of a most favored nations atmosphere at a developing artist conference, you know, some headliners for lack of a better word. And that impetus was built on drawing further attention to undiscovered or developing artists, you know, to bring more attention to the event. But yes, it takes, it's the most grueling part, I would say, of the process.
Getting into that grueling part just a little bit, what are you looking for out of these 1,000 submissions? What is it about an artist that first jumps out at you that makes you put a check in the yes column for, I would love to have them showcased?
I think that's easy, and it's probably pretty generic to say it, but dynamic live performance. If you provide video and I see you putting it all out there, being distinguishable visually and sonically, if I see that I identify as an artist, I am an artist kind of confidence, especially if you can show evidence of any engagement with crowd, you know, I think that's fantastic. I've spent my entire life accepting this daunting challenge of working with people that have 1,000 followers. So I do think that it's fair to say I'm looking more for that undiscovered like thing, that it factor. And I do enjoy that a lot. Some of the artists that have submitted, you know, Meghan Trainor played at the Hotel Bar. 21 Pilots submitted and played at a burrito shop. Those things are cool, you know. A lot of folks that end up playing in touring acts as touring musicians with large country and rock and roll acts. I love, to Randy Nichols and Jeremy Holgerson's point, I love seeing those folks down the road, not presuming that I had anything to do with it, but just kind of, well, you know, a step, maybe one of the steps in their path. But it's really gratifying to see people succeeding and to kind of have known early on or had a supposition that they would.
So you're doing step 1, which is providing, you know, the space for these artists to be showcased. Randy and Jeremy Holgerson, you have arrived at launch. You're looking at the information. You're looking at the lineup. There's hundreds of bands playing at any moment in time. You could be in front of 8 different stages. What are the things that draw you to one stage or one band over another? How do you decide what you're going to go see that night?
Yeah, for me, I'll go first. Just because for me, it's really just about a personal connection, a story, just something quantifiable in talking to them. Because there are countless great bands out there that will never go anywhere because the artist just doesn't know how to take care of their business and function as a band. And that won't help when they get a manager. If they can't do their basic core business right, it's not going to work to begin with. So I need someone that's presentable, can tell me a story, and just get me excited as for why to see them. And then after that, sometimes I may not even care what they sound like. I just want to go because I'm curious to see how they're going to do. And I may not like them, but I may want to be helpful to them just as a friend. But, you know, especially at a conference, there's almost no time where they're developing bands. There's almost no time to actually go and sit and listen to music. Like, I'm not, like, if you hand me a download card or a CD, I don't have a CD player in the room, you know, like in the hotel where I am there. So it really all just comes down to selling me the package of who you are. And music's obviously important, but the way I look at it is there's 1,000 great bands, But out of that 1,000, there's 5 or 6 who know how to operate a great band and work with partners and take advice from a team. And those are the 5 people that are going to actually make it, even though their music may not be as great as some of those other 1,000.
So what I'm hearing from you is the music is very important, but the ability to make it a business and function it like a business and do all the stuff that's not happening on stage well is what's a big factor in you deciding if you're able to represent somebody.
Yes, but it goes beyond the business. It's just how they're presenting themselves. Like, is the artwork interesting? Is just like everything, you know, a band at the end of the day is a brand. And when you bring in a team, we can refine that brand and make it better. But everything about it needs to look good. Like, you could have great music, great aesthetic, everything figured out, and you're open to advice, but didn't understand how to do business. And that's a great person to work with too. But what you often find is people who believe they're the best, most brilliant artist. They're waiting for a manager to tell people that they're great, don't want to listen to a manager. When the manager tells them, like, these are 3 things that you should work on, they go, well, we're great, we don't need your advice. And those artists, like, I don't care, you know, fuck you, go figure it out on your own. It's probably not going to happen for you, unfortunately.
Yeah. Jeremy Holgerson, what gets you in front of a band at a showcase?
Similar to what Randy said, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, I think at like a showcase or South by, things like that, you just kind of end up, you know, wandering and going word of mouth, or seeing someone says, go check this band out, and you go see it. And, you know, you kind of end up stumbling on things or just finding things. But, you know, at conferences you run into people, so you'll kind of like go with the flow and figure out how to go see things, or maybe there's something that you've heard about before that you definitely want to put on the top of your radar and make sure you go see. And then I think everything Randy said kind of nailed it. Like, I mean, it starts with the music, and, you know, the music's good, that's great, but that's not, you know, enough. Like, then after the music, okay, what else is there? What's the band's vibe? What are the members, you know, vibes? Do they have that thing? Do they want it more than you? Like, you can't want it more than you. I've heard people say you can't want it more than your artist. You know, the artist needs to want it more than anyone else. They need to know, you know, just how to carry themselves, how to talk to folks, how they want to, you know, build their brand. And then what are the other things around it? Like, you know, are they thinking smart about their business? Are they sleeping on floors and selling t-shirts to get to the next show, to work harder than anyone else? Like, all the things that Randy kind of said, those are the things that you really need to see after that, outside that. Kind of getting into what I said about, you know, like that guy band. I have a dog that
Go take care of that dog.
there's someone in the hallway, and it was crazy.
That started just as soon as the industrial lawnmower that mows the high school.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just stopped at my house.
Yeah, but every band has also, you know, the guy that's kind of the business guy. Maybe it's like not the guy who writes the songs, the drummer, that person that you find that's like, that kind of gives you that vibe. Like, these guys have that thing that has that person that's, you know, going to be the person that can then, you know, network and bring the band, you know, bring a manager in when ready, or, you know, if there isn't a manager or anything else, knows how to do everything for the band and kind of keep everything going. And then, you know, they want to be smart about bringing members of their team on at the right time. Like, you don't want a manager before you need a manager. You don't want a label before you need a label. You don't want an agent before you need an agent. Like, everyone wants an agent, and I'll tell them, like, sometimes you're better off without one, because you'll probably get more opportunities without an agent, because you're making more phone calls. People might want to do you favors before, you know, because they want to work with you. Like, you know, take things on at the right time. Be smart about it. Those are the kind of things that I like.
Now, so shifting gears from like the conference showcase festival setup to just like life in general. If artists are trying to get your attention, do they email you? Do they message you? Do you want a link to their Spotify? Do you want to be handed a CD? How do you like receiving information that may be slightly unsolicited?
I'll go first, I guess. Oh no, someone's already talking. Go.
I was just going to say quickly that one thing that I've noticed that's annoying to me, and maybe I'm just like a prima donna, I don't know, but if you're going to message on Facebook, DM me on Instagram, and then also email me, let's stick to one method of communicating. I think that's fairly obvious, I hope, but evidently not. The other thing is, and I think we're all everyone here keeps themselves very busy. So whatever the result of that notwithstanding, if I receive something from you and I notice it, I'd like it to be complete. I don't want to, I would, it's not that I don't want to have a conversation with you, it's that I can ill afford to. So if you've gotten my attention, please God, make sure there's an easy, quick link. There's an easy 1 or 2 lines about why you're amazing. And I know people say that a lot at conferences, but some things are trite because they are true. And if they were being practiced wholesale, we wouldn't have to talk about it anymore.
Any other comments from Randy or the
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you're sending me a professional note, like, hey, I'm interested in working with you, a couple of things. One, actually say that in the email. You wouldn't believe how many emails I get from people that just tell me about their band, but there isn't an actual ask, but they're interested in me managing them. And then they'll be like, well, I'll send like a friendly reply, like, hey, thanks for sending. They're like, well, are you interested? And I'm like, interested in what? You didn't ask for anything. So like, as stupid as that sounds, that's a really important one. But beyond that, I personally don't like being contacted for the most part on my social media. Like a lot of my social media is more personal. So like, I prefer, if you want to do business with me, contact me at my business account. And a personal pet peeve that people shouldn't really be judged on, but I also don't like when bands try to connect with me on LinkedIn as a band, because to me, LinkedIn is a professional network, not a music network. But I respect people for trying, so I can respect the game on that one at least. But the other important thing is, and this is just more to help educate artists than how I feel, but you should present your music to us in how your fans are consuming it. Don't send me this online press kit service, or, I'm not even going to name the names because we're friends with people at some of these companies, but there are these companies that build their business on helping developing artists. And a lot of what they do does help them, but send me a Spotify link so that I could go to your Spotify and see you guys presented to the general public there. If you're not on Spotify, send me your Bandcamp. But when you send me off to these things where it's like designed just for me, I don't want to see that. I want to see how you're presenting yourself to fans and how fans are consuming and interacting with you.
Good advice. Jeremy Holt.
Same. I usually only take anything seriously if it's come to my work email. Like anything on my, socials and everything, like Randy said, I usually don't really take too seriously. I feel like if it comes to my email work address, you've done enough research and know what I do to kind of reach out and why you're reaching out for an agent. And then, it's presentation. It's, like, keep it simple, but, seeing some, self sufficiency, like we've done these 5 tours on our own. We have these stats. We've, just showing that you're, that you're reaching out and looking for an agent because it's the next step, not because you don't want to book a tour anymore, but because you're growing. So, if I see something that shows, a good story and the right growth, then I'll probably then listen to the music and then, and then go from there. So, but usually only my email is probably the only thing I ever take seriously. And even then we get a lot of random emails.
So if somebody, I think that it's good advice for anything, that if somebody's reaching out to you because someone that in common connect to, like including that information, giving some context to why you're reaching out, a specific ask, because maybe you want to be represented as an agent or a manager. Maybe you want to hopefully pick somebody's brain for 20 minutes and like have an exploratory interview type thing. I mean, there could be lots of reasons. It's not maybe clear cut unless you put the ask in there of what you're reaching out to the person about.
Yeah, one other thing really quickly I want to add to that is have a promoter or someone else email on your behalf. I'm going to take you 1,000% more seriously. Like if Jeremy Weiss said this band played my club last night and they're awesome, you should check them out. That means so much more than you telling me your band is awesome.
Right, so building your network as a band and building your relationships with local promoters, local venues, and people that can help become stepping stones to add on the artist team pieces that are needed is going to help you get into contact with the right people more effectively than just blindly emailing people that you found on the internet.
Exactly.
So I'm going to bring on Jessica, our first artist, and what we're going to say hello to her. She'll introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her her music. We'll listen to about a minute of her a song on YouTube. We'll see what questions she has for us. And all three of our artists today have been placed here by Jeremy because they are participating in the Launch Music Conference and Showcase Festival. So we will give Jessica a second to, hello, unmute yourself and we can see you.
Okay, hi, thank you. I would have never unmuted myself, so good to know.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you to Jeremy for helping me get to this opportunity. I'm super excited, a little nervous. You guys, your credentials are nerve-wracking.
You just haven't died, so we're still here.
So Jessica, you tell us how you have ended up here today. What are you trying to accomplish? Where are you at in your career? What's your story?
Okay, always loved music, but I didn't start really in music until about 2016. I started with a radio station at a college I was at. I was just playing local music on the radio. It was like a really big thing, big deal to me. From there, I started interning and doing public relations, and that's actually how I met Jeremy. I started interning, Jeremy Weiss. I started interning at CI, which is really the step that brought me here today. I mean, obviously, but from that, we really were able to, I was able to pick his brain, get on shows. I've been married for 9 years, so technically when I started in 2016, I was like supporting my husband, getting him on shows with PNB through Jeremy. But I always wanted to do music, and I was always really scared to put myself out there. And then eventually Jeremy said something to me one day that was just like, you can't have a plan B. So 2017, I got on my first track and I started doing features with my husband. 2018, I started recording my own stuff. 2019, my first performances. 2020, I dropped my first song. So here we are. I mean, I'm very blessed to be here right now.
Awesome. Thank you. So we're going to dive into checking out your music. So I'm going to screen share. I hope that the audio comes through well, but I don't know how it ends up on other people's side through Zoom, so that we can all kind of get a little bit of a feel for what you're about. Here's the fun part where I do the tech. We can start sharing.
Better you than me.
Screen share. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, so we got Jessica.
I'll tell you the truth. Everyone lies. Nobody knows what comes after this life. I'm gonna stay. I'll make you feel safe. I can't imagine why you're so afraid. You call me selfish 'cause I need you around. I'm not depressed, I'm just holding this down. Give me your worries and I'll find a way to make you forget about your yesterdays today. of a dime.
All right, I would love to play the whole thing, but we don't have time for all of the music that all we want to play. But I loved that personally. Beautifully done. So, first thoughts, Randy and Jeremy Holgerson?
Like, video was well done. It was shot well, which is important.
I'm sorry. Perfect quarantine family life.
Yeah,
amazing.
Right now.
Not even a flinch, right? Like, it's just as if I'm in an empty room, not a thought in it.
That's right. That's right.
As long as I can talk, I'm all good. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was well shot. Like, she's got a great voice, or you have a great voice. You're on the conversation too. I mean, the one thing that's like hearing just a piece of a song is tough is like waiting to hear like where there's a hook to this, like a bigger hook to the song that I didn't quite notice, but it may be there and I'm just distracted too, because as you can see, there's a lot going on. But yeah, overall, I think you have something solid there. The hard thing is pop is just such a hard side of the industry. It takes like a giant machine to support you. So it's always a battle, but like, I think you're on the right path there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say same thing Randy said. I mean, pop is you need a machine behind it, but making videos and releasing videos, getting on TikTok and things like that, you can really build a base where you don't have to tour or rely on the live side as much. You can record and release and build a base that way, which is always good. So I would just, anything you're doing with your music on that side, make sure you're tying in all those other platforms, whether it's, TikTok or anything like that, figure out ways to get, get ears and eyeballs on your videos and listen to your music via that way, because especially these days with no touring, but even without touring, like pop, you're reaching a lot of that fan base online before you even play a show. So, it's about output in pop, making videos and releasing music and having people tell friends and tune in and spread it that way.
Jessica, what questions do you have for our panelists?
Jeremy Holgerson kind of just tapped on one. That was one of the things that I've been talking a lot with people about. Content is king, but what kind of content is important? So I have a lot of people telling me I have a lot of features that are more rap, R&B, and I've been told that I should stay away from features, that if I was to do a feature, I should be charging people a lot of money because there aren't a lot of singers. But as of right now, I don't have a lot of content out. So my question is, should I focus on these features to have that, or should I take away that focus and put it directly on my content?
I think actually you should probably do as many features as possible, because it is about content, it is about getting out there. And if you think about how many artists get featured on another artist's song and that song blows up, and then everyone knows who the artist is that's featured on. I mean, look at like Teyana Taylor, everyone knows about her because of Kanye West. I think, and I also think, if you're doing a lot of features on hip hop, a female voice really stands out and is memorable on features. So more so than kind of being another rapper on the song, I think having the hook, because again, another thing is you have the hook. So, and the hook is what goes on TikTok and also spreads. So that's, for pop, it's about the hook. And I would say do as many as possible, and then, as they get bigger and grow, start charging more and more. Or, if you did a feature for, think about all the producers out there that, produce something for a Juice WRLD or whoever, obscure, when he was obscure and then blows up, then that's on their resume, and then they're getting paid more and getting bigger opportunities and all that. So I would do as many as possible. Because again, too, like if someone discovers you through another song, then they're going to go, and they like it, then they're going to go look for more. They're going to go find your video. They're going to go to your Spotify page, your Facebook, your Instagram, or, discover more. So I would do as many as possible.
and I'd also think about, like, when you're looking at the feature idea, look at what platforms people are performing well on. And if you're making a big push to do something with YouTube, find a YouTuber to try to do a feature for. If you have a TikTok push, try to tie in more with people on TikTok. And most importantly, just figure out what areas speak to you, like whether it be Instagram and like all the different areas, and focus more on what speaks to you and you enjoy being a part of. And then from there, just try to find other people to collaborate with within that medium. We're in a unique time right now where for another year, probably we're not going to have shows. So I would look at a feature as the only way really you're going to get in front of another artist's fans. And it could be something where as simple as maybe you like playing on YouTube live or Instagram live and play, and just doing something with two different people on, like you start talking to someone else on Instagram live and you're not even playing music, but you're just talking to another artist who you like, who has fans, and you share your fans by communicating with each other. You've got to get creative with what's out there and try to figure out how to reach more people, because the typical models we used to use don't work. To go on a slight tangent here, but I think it'll be useful, is I just launched a series for one of the bands I manage, this live streaming series of multiple concerts. And I need to reach out to Jeremy Weiss about this afterwards. I'm like just selling to our fans and I'm like, oh, this thing's working, but how can I reach more people? When we play a show, usually we work with a concert promoter. And I'm suddenly like, how can I get a concert promoter to help promote my live stream? Because that keeps things feeling like it used to feel. So think about how things used to be. See, Jeremy wants to make some money. I got some money for you, Jeremy. We'll talk. I'll give you a healthy cut of each ticket. Yeah. So but honestly, this is how you have to think right now. And you have to think what worked before, how can you do what you can do now and tie the two together? And for me, I'm constantly thinking, I want to do something that no one else has done before. Doing what everybody else did is awesome, and quite often it's a good move. But I want to take what everybody else did and then put my own spin on it. And then you do that a few times, people start thinking of you, they call you an innovator. And all you're really doing is going, all right, everyone's doing the same old shit. What else can I do? And you just brainstorm in your own mind or with friends thinking of something different so that you're not the same. So it's just important to think that way too.
Yeah, Randy brought up a good point. I should have added on about, which is also in pop, is, influencers and just doing stuff online, whether it's YouTube Live, Instagram Live, just you and acoustic guitar. I mean, don't forget Shawn Mendes started out doing covers. There's a couple other female pop artists I'm not thinking about, but who started out doing, just really good covers online and gaining a following and eventually doing their own songs. We work with an artist named Teddy Swims at UTA, who started out doing covers and really just kind of gaining an audience by releasing a cover every Tuesday at a certain time on Facebook Live, and then built a following. And then through algorithms, they kind of figured out what their fans were liking of the cover songs he'd like to kind of then start doing his own originals based on the things that were reacting for, because he has an amazing voice. So it was like kind of finding out, through that, like almost like focus groups, using the online community to develop his sound. But yeah, and pop, that's another thing to take into account that Randy brought up that's a great point. Just playing with an acoustic guitar or just posting stuff on your Insta Live and just really kind of engaging with fans, because that's in pop, that's where you're really that's where that personal connection is really where you're going to get it even more so before you play a live show in today's day and age.
I would just add that quantifying your worth, that's something that comes up all the time. And I think people read a lot of well-written books, but they're false equivalencies. The careers that they're talking about, like How Not to Get Screwed Over, they're talking about artists that are far much more along in their career. So when we want to compare ourselves to, what, I don't care what Biggie or Metallica did, to make sure that they got a proper slice of the pie. And right now we just don't have that kind of cachet. at this stage in our career. So if you're talking about a feature and the artist that enlisted you to do it has, I don't know, 100,000 followers on Spotify, given like a realistic number, that might be a good look for you. And then you know that the guy who has 10, well, he might have to pay you. And that's what I would add as well. Know your worth, you know. For real though, on the negative side as well. I hate to say it, but you know.
Well, it's like what Jared said, it's an investment. You know, you want to look at the plus, you know, the positives and negatives of each situation. So it's like if you like you're doing it for the guy who has a bunch of followers, that's going to make you more money down the road. And then the other one is you're doing it for the money because they have less followers and you're lending it, you know, you're giving them something that they should pay for. So, to trade.
I think that's looking at what are you getting in return for the service that you're providing, and that in certain situations will be financial, and other times it's eyeballs on, and the opportunity for it to lead to something else. Jessica, what else do you have on your list of queries?
Okay, so I'm not sure how much more time I have, but I really want to get to a question about me and my husband. We've been working together. Most of my features are actually with him. He raps. I come with he also helps with my writing. He offers this rap vibe, an R&B vibe, and we are often asked if we're a band, if we are a group, if we're going to do something like that. I'm wondering, in this day and age, or with the cross genres of us both, would it be a smart move to work together, or does the individual careers and then hopefully trying to cross them with features and songs and projects, is that the better option?
He is actually our next guest. So maybe hi Corey. So Corey, since it's kind of addresses both of you, why don't you like pop in, and why don't we kind of merge your times together? So why don't I go ahead and pull up Corey's music for us to take a listen to, and then the panelists can answer that question once we have all of the information in front of us. And disregard my family situation happening in the background. All right, so I'm going, oh, I see. I was accidentally hitting the button that next to the screen share, not that. All right. All right, so Corey, we are listening to, it's not a video, it's just audio, correct?
I just like the sound. My Cupid got a AK-47 and he's spraying, call the reverend. Got my shorty on the coast. First I'm eating, then it's breakfast. He just screaming, drinking ocean spray. Now she coming on delay. Got a meeting down the way, Choreo never late. Whoa there, man, where's your woadies? Who you got riding? I got no one praying for me. Just ask about me. Gassed up, never gassed out. Blow a pound, never pass out. They try to make it happen fast now. When the city see him bring his cash out, they say, whoa there, man, where's your woadies? Who you got riding? I got no one praying for me. Just ask about me. Gassed up, never gassed out. Blow a pound, never pass out. They try to make it happen fast now. When the city see him bring his cash out. My Cupid got a rocket launcher on him, and he bombing, so I'm drawing. 6 in the morning, I'm with Shawnee. We both rolling. Girl, you drawing. You too bad, can't take no photos with me. I don't like those predicaments. Life is just what you see. They say, whoa there, man, where's...
All right, I can listen to the whole thing again. Love it. Maybe first, well, why don't we, do we talk first about the music or talk about the question? Guys, dive in with first thoughts, maybe.
There should be no, early on, you don't know what's going to work. I say do absolutely everything. What's the difference? But I mean, you have the drive, you have the time. Why can't you develop 3 things at once? You know, we could mention countless super groups that kind of splintered off into successful solo careers. You know, Black Eyed Peas comes to mind, or whomsoever. And I never understood that. Again, applying a model to your art way before you need to concern yourself with that. If you're in a large act and you want to keep kind of that solidarity and that branding on point, and you're worried, Jeremy Holgerson is going to go off and do something like really wild that is off brand for your already immensely successful product, I get it. But early on, hell, I don't see why there wouldn't be, any project you felt like doing. And if it was a real departure from what you're trying to build in a different project, then of course you give it a different name, different branding, and you see what sticks.
Yeah,
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
That's great advice. So you throw as many different pieces of pasta at the wall and hope something sticks. And whatever does, then you keep building on that and developing that. So it seems like there is space for all of the above things that you want to do. So Corey, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you're at in your career and what you're trying to accomplish as a next step?
Sure, yeah. I did a little stint in the Army. I came out of the Army and didn't really want to get a 9 to 5, as you'd say. I wanted to take a little bit of break, and I felt like every time I was taking a break, I was around musicians. So just started working with the musicians, and I started hearing their music, and I was just like, man, I've always wanted to do music, and I think I'm way more confident and better than these people that she's working with. So I was just like, I'm gonna try it. And it's been 3 years, and I've been on huge shows with like Ja Rule and PNB Rock, and thanks to Jeremy definitely, and A Boogie. And I just, I'm just turning a hobby into something that I want to make money out of.
That's awesome, by the way. That's exactly what we talked about early on. It's like building relationships and just making it work for yourself.
Right. Yeah,
I think
I'm very personally connected with. I try to personally connect with everybody that I
that's what I was going to say to you guys is like everyone in this chat definitely can appreciate, and I know Holgerson brought it up as well, like that grassroots level, like hustle. And I don't mean to paint the genre in broad strokes, but in my experience as a promoter, having promoted many of hip hop and whatever loosely described R&B artists, there is a fake it till you make it that becomes almost like a virus, where it's actually toxic because, bro, you cannot keep up this front for long. I know you're broke. I'm paying you. I know exactly what you're getting paid. I've always appreciated in the long term with Corey, his balance of the two. He will speak to everyone. He will engage them. They become soldiers in his army, and he knows when he has to deliver a crowd for financial reasons for the promoter, and he knows how to deliver a crowd in turn, because then he turns it into a profitable show for himself. And that's very seldom seen in my experience. There's a lot of fantasy instead of work and dreams in the genre, in my opinion. What do you think, Holgerson?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like that's no one's going to do favors for someone that just kind of feels like they deserve it or just, aren't working for it. And like you said, you're the person that they want to impress and make happy at the end of the night, because you will be the one to ask them back and know if they work hard. And, you're the one, like you said, that's paying and knows the facade, if that's real or not. I think you see the artists that do work hard are the ones that ultimately have long careers. It's not, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. When you look at the artists that have, like Jeezy, who I work with, started out doing like small clubs and doing every step along the way. Paramore, who we work with, she started out, like those are the acts. Like not everyone goes from, first record to arenas overnight. It's a lot of the acts that you see in arenas have had, probably 10-year careers or, before that, working hard and doing every step and to get there. So, and it starts at the level that you're talking about, right? Hustling, locally and getting on shows to grow that beyond.
Corey, what questions do you have for us?
I've got a couple questions. The one I'm most concerned about is where do you find
Can you get a little bit closer to the computer so that we can hear you better?
Where do you find the most return on investment? So where should I be putting my money to make the most money out of it? As far as like right now in this career, don't have any investors or anything like that. So it's all really off the strength. So where should I be putting it for returns?
Yeah, I'll jump in there and say the first thing you should look at is where are you seeing returns,
Right.
and pour more on that. And you know, like for instance, again, this campaign that I mentioned before that I just launched for one of my artists, we're spending some money now doing social media ads, and we created different types of assets to drive people to different aspects of this thing that we put together. And we're looking at the data and going, all right, this is reacting, this isn't, and refining what we're doing in our presentation of the band online. So an artist that, you know, has like multiple gold records and Grammys, we're still doing the exact same thing. It's posting something online, looking at it, what works, what doesn't work, and pivoting based on facts, not following emotion. And you have to follow that emotion and what's in your heart to some degree, because you're not an artist if you don't. But you have to look at data and facts and let that drive you to what's working.
Okay, I'll follow up on that. I've never paid a large amount of money for a feature. I have the opportunity to a lot, but I'm nervous about you know, spending a couple of grand on a feature, and that, you know, brings me back, you know, $200, $300 in streams or whatever. And you know, like it's basically like, you just got to risk it for the biscuit, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of it is looking at, is this an artist that's on the way up? Is it an artist on the way down? What kind of reaction are they seeing with with their songs? Like, you know, for instance, using like TikTok as an example. If that artist does well on TikTok and you're looking to develop yourself on TikTok also, that may make sense to pay for that feature. But if this artist isn't engaged in social media, isn't engaged in areas that can be beneficial to you in any way, then why bother doing it? And like, I'm personally despise the concept of paying to be on a song, just like I despise the idea of artists paying to be on shows. And like, my feeling is, for the most part, and there are exceptions to this rule, but you don't pay to be there because all you're doing is throwing your money out the window.
Right.
Because if they want you there, and you're not simply a dollar sign for a marketing piece, then you're going to stay there. The artist who's asked to come on a tour gets 5 more tours. The artist who paid to get on a tour, most of the time, is being asked to pay on a tour regardless of if they've earned the right to be there, because they've suddenly turned themselves into an ATM machine that people want to continue to access. So you have to be really careful in how you position yourself with that you're there for the right reasons. Because I mean, Jeremy, I'm sure, can tell you countless artists that we remember over the years that were paying good money to get on tours, that people tapped their cash to get on the tours. And when the cash ran out, nobody was interested in them because they didn't deserve to be there already. And if they deserve to be there, then there's a reason. And myself as a manager, and again, this is talking about tours, but rather than a feature, but I feel like it all comes across the same way. I'm putting something together. It's because I need value for my client. And I feel like I'm losing value for my client when I'm bringing in someone who doesn't have what it takes to be there. And it's actually taking away from the growth of my own client because I'm putting money before art.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so just a few thoughts to throw out there.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Follow-up question. Well, I guess it's more like a different question. If you're about to go work with an artist or a band, and they've got a ton of music out, is that a problem for you, or do you like that?
I mean, for me, and see what everyone else thinks, but to me, it's just about, is it reacting? What are people doing? I mean, at the end of the day, some artists break on their 5th album. You know, not typically, but you do see artists of all levels. Like, I think I see a Green Day thing in the background in Jen's house. And Green Day broke on their 3rd album. Wasn't the first album. A totally different genre than you, and a long time ago, but artists don't always break from record 1. Like, they didn't really sell much until that point. So having other music out isn't an issue. Having good music is an issue.
I'm gonna kind of
One last thing to that. If you have music that you're not proud of anymore, get rid of it online. If you feel like it's that bad, have less music because some of it sucks. And
That's exactly what I was going to jump in with. I have to credit Uncle O from Power 99 in Philly. It was one of those oh shit moments where I was sitting there with him, and he said, "Look, there's no rule that once it's up, it stays. Like you throw stuff out, the spaghetti, analogy again, and if people you keep the stuff up that's catching. You don't have to leave 80 songs up if you don't want to.
And you could put them up later again. You could release it when the moment's right.
Deep tracks collections when you're having success,
Kind of tied into that, how much are you guys looking at the follows, the followers, the listen counts? How much is that data affecting how you're viewing a potential artist that you want to work with?
It's super important in a lot of genres. I mean, it depends on the genre. But when it comes to like hip hop, pop, things like that, followers are pretty important. And, not even how many, but like, is it growing? Is it getting to be more, or has it, stopped at a certain point and not grown and been stagnant for a year? So I think it's definitely, I don't want to say how many, but it's what the trajectory is, and, could be someone who just started out and the song's great and it's 10,000 this week and next week it's 20,000 followers and 30. And that's more important than someone who has, 700,000 and has had those for years and maybe bought some of those. I think it's about seeing what the reaction is.
It's hard competing against people who buy followers in the industry because, when you look at that, I'm standing next to this guy, he's got 15,000 followers, but I sold 70 tickets to the show and he sold 15, but every time I'm opening up for him.
I'd like not to cut you off there, but I'd like to point out, don't ever buy followers, follow your instincts, you're right. Because most of these social media platforms are all based on algorithms of how many of your followers are reacting. So if you have 15,000 followers that you bought and only 1,000 of them are interacting, you look like a failure and you're not showing engagement. If you had 1,000 really engaged fans, that looks way more valuable, especially to us on the industry side as well.
100%.
Yeah, I'm not looking at follower counts and streams as much as I'm looking at engagement and growth. Like a total number is meaningless because you have existing artists who have been around for a long time too, who may have a big number on social media, but nobody gives a fuck about them anymore. So that number is meaningless. So you really need to think about creating engagement, and think about that all the way down to when you're posting something on social media. Ask a question, say, do you want to go to this show, rather than we're playing a show. If you look at my band Under Oath, like on their Instagram story, the most recent story we had just put up right before this call, we're streaming 3 different shows, and it's which show are you most excited to see? And it's a poll on the Instagram, which then it goes from people just swiping by to actually engaging and feeling invested in the moment. And you got to think about that all the time.
Under Oath, sick.
Do you guys have any additional questions?
I feel like we covered a lot. Yeah, we could go on forever, but.
Well, good. So, thank you so much for sharing your music with us and your story. And I assume it's cool with you that I post links to all of this on my workshop page so that everybody at home can listen to the full thing, watch the whole thing. So thank you very much. And I'm going to say goodbye to you and then bring on our next guest, Jackie.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Right. Hold on. Oh, technology. Hi, Jackie. Don't forget to unmute.
I think I got it. Did I do it?
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, guys. This is incredible. Wow.
Well, thank you.
Hi, Jackie.
Yeah. Thank you all for, hey, Jeremy. Thank you for taking the time to do this. This is awesome.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about where you're at in your career and where you're trying to go?
Yeah. So all my life, I've really been in music. I started with the violin at like age 6, and then I picked up the upright bass. So I once upon a time I was classically trained in orchestras and stuff. But then I slowly progressed into playing the guitar and songwriting, and then I went to college for music business technology at Millersville, which Jeremy knows. And I was able to graduate with a couple internships in music marketing for venues and artists. And I've always wanted to be an artist myself, so I just knew that I wanted to take that knowledge and put it to my own project. So now I'm currently living in New York City, and I'm just trying to make it work. I have no plan B. Like, all I want to do is just be an artist. I want to write. I want to be a producer. I want to write for other people. And so now I'm at a point where I'm like reaching out to DJs to remix my songs. I have one coming out with Goldhouse, who has over 1 million followers on Spotify and Instagram, which I'm really excited for. And I'm just trying to figure out ways to grow and gain more audiences across all my platforms. And yeah, so I'm definitely at the point of looking for a manager soon. So that's more of what my questions would be about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's check you out. I believe you sent me a video, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so let's go over here. Lynx is the name of you're a solo artist, but your
Yes.
band name is Lynx.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you said, what are we? Maybe I was wrong. I think I'm catching on. There's a fine line in the middle of my mind. You can't touch it, you can't hide it. Silence breaks one last time. 'Cause we are full side. Hope you can tell that I'm waiting for you. You see me daydreaming, my heart racing. I'm ain't gonna move. I'm waiting for you. Waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. I'm ain't gonna move. I'm waiting for you.
Love it.
Thank
First
you.
thoughts from my guys?
That was cool. Like I like your vibe. Like I feel like a lot of these developing artist things where I cross paths with people, it's not as stylized and everything was shot well. You have a great voice. I like the song that I'm remembering now after listening to it. So like, yeah, like I think you're doing great, and your backstory sounds like you got some stuff going on too, which is great.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, it sounds like you're doing all the right things for what you're doing, like writing for other folks, producing and doing that. And then also at the same time, writing your own music. You know, so many artists do that. And then, you know, ghost write for other folks and then eventually, you know, develop their own career and their own path. Because ultimately, like you said, what you want to do is be out in front of the crowd and be the main event. Yeah, I mean, I think everything you're doing is, like Randy said, you're doing it correctly.
Yeah. Her instincts are right with what she's doing. You can just tell, and how like everything, like how you're presenting yourself. And like something I'll mention to you also that like I say often, but I fully mean it with this, is when you're doing these kind of conversations with people in the industry, don't listen to what everyone says. Your instincts are really good. You kind of know where you're at, and we're not always going to know what's right for you. So it's fine to discount what people are saying too. I feel like you're grabbing onto things right. So keep that in mind. And not to say the other people we talk to aren't, but like I feel like you know yourself and are executing really well.
Wow, thank you.
I think with what you're doing too, I think sometimes a manager will find you. The right person will find you for knowing what your vision is and what you're doing. And I think with what you're doing as a whole is attractive to a manager because you're writing songs, you're doing your own songs, you have a lot of different things. So it's not just like if a manager started working with you, they've got to take the songs you've written and figure out how to do that. Like there's other things. You might have a manager who, sometimes you find artists who are writing songs who get their manager because they were working with another artist. And then that manager of that artist is like, sees something and then that turns into something. I don't know if you heard what we were saying earlier, but it's, sometimes it's that natural progression of like finding the right things at the right time that add to the value and add to what you're doing already. Like that can actually bring more value to what you would already are doing yourself. Like, you want to add someone to the team who's going to do more than you would do for yourself or add to what you're already doing and keep growing it as a team together. And that's important. And, what you're doing is, you have a lot of different facets to what you're doing that apply. So, and being in New York, you're in a good spot for that. For networking and finding those things. Have you reached out to management companies at all or networked with like artists you've worked with or producers you've worked with?
Just a little bit. I'm trying to find the right, I feel like I'm in the right spot to find a manager, but I'm trying to make sure that I absolutely need one before I make that step. Because right now I'm doing everything myself with the help from a couple friends who, like you said, they'll send emails to people for me. As like an alias, and then it has helped actually to get some press and stuff like that because people definitely take it more seriously than me being like, hi, I'm a singer-songwriter. So yeah, but I'm just trying to wait to make sure that I absolutely need an artist manager.
Let me tell you another thing. I don't mean to cut you off, but your instincts, again, perfectly right there. But one thing to think of in that scenario is build a relationship with the managers of other people you're working with and don't ask for anything. Like, just, like, hey, we were jamming on this thing. We wrote this thing, like, I'm sure you're going to see it, but I was really stoked on how this came out. Like, obviously your own language, but like whatever it may be, interact with them and don't ask for anything. I don't know where the Jeremys stand on this, but to me, there's nothing better than an artist who's kind of happening, kind of has something going on, and isn't asking for anything. It just kind of wants to be connected. Because we want to be connected with those people too. We're way more interested in having a relationship with an artist who has something going on that might be an opportunity for us to get involved with when it's ready. And we don't have to have that weird conversation of, I don't think you're ready because you're not ready. But we actually have a relationship already. So we may see that you're ready before you see it. And we're just going to
I would add that Jackie can attest to this. I've called you with several opportunities over the years for no ascribed connection professionally. You guys can appreciate that out of thousands of acts over a course of years that you're producing, you recognize when somebody caught a good song or, a local act, or when they won frankly, a popularity contest locally. What Jackie has done, and I'm going to make her blush because I've never actually said this to her, but it was obvious to me from the beginning that her absolute music training and acumen, coupled with this like intangible attraction, like she's a very charismatic figure, albeit portraying herself with implied humility and a regular approachable attitude, and it has really worked for her. And when you even see in a microcosmic level a crowd of 100, 200 people, they are true believers. They are not there to support a friend. They're listening to her and imbibing in her music the same they would.
Is that just me, or can no one hear?
I thought it was me. It's your phone.
Jeremy, what if you got a problem with your audio?
The internet problem, so I was worried it was me. I was like, oh no. But I was gonna say, like what Jeremy was saying, like, and what Randy was saying, like kind of when I said like sometimes a manager will find you. I think that's just do what you're doing and make as many relationships as possible, and and talk to people because, I think, eventually like that person will be like, or maybe it'll be a manager is like, I like what you're doing. I know this other person who's looking for client, just talk to as many people as possible and get to know them and pick their brain for information. And I think eventually the things will fall in place and the right situation will arise that kind of comes in where like it's, could be, an assistant at a management company who you're talking to at the studio who's like, I'm going to start taking on my own clients. It could be a manager who's like, I love what you're doing. I have a friend who's, like producer, whoever, like I think just keep doing what you're doing and talk to folks, pick their brain, ask for information. And then I think the things will, the right person will kind of come in that adds value that kind of continues the growth.
I want to jump in here and say it was interesting to hear you say that you learned a lot about music marketing and worked in music marketing because you sent me a website that I would love to pull up, and I would like to get the guys' feedback on what are the key components to the online presence of a new artist, and is it creating a website? What are the things that
Perfect.
people should be doing?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. So.
Thank you, by the way, Jeremy, for those kind words. From what we could grab. Thank you.
So forget him.
We initially have a pop-up where people can immediately listen. Of course, Zoom has put all of the things in a weird place for me. Music store, community, merchandise, things going on, shows coming up.
Have you tried doing any streaming shows like on YouTube Live or or anything?
Yeah, I've done a lot of those, and I find that most of my traction comes from my Instagram.
Yeah.
When it comes to the live shows, so I've done 3 online festivals.
Nice.
2 of them were Philly based, and one of them New York based. And I met a lot of great artists through that. And there's another like music foundation that would like to book me next year for their summer festival, their real festival,
Awesome.
which is
Yeah.
great, which was a connection I didn't have before it.
And that just shows you're doing it right because you did something online and someone wants to bring you like into the real world from it. It's a slow process, but you're nailing it.
Thank you.
Other Instagram too, obviously.
Nice.
Oh yeah, yes, you're. I did. One of my questions has to do with obviously the COVID-19, Black Lives Matter discussion right now. For about a month, I had those black posts and I didn't say anything. I didn't post for about a month. It was really difficult to feel the need to promote anything with my music. And I think I'm doing an okay job at pushing like little projects that I'm doing. But I'm trying to be really mindful of the situation that everybody's a part of right now because I'm in a pretty good place. I'm very fortunate to be like living with my girlfriend and being able to record music, and I'm getting the unemployment checks, what have you, and still working in production. So I'm in a great spot, but I'm trying to be mindful, and I'm wondering what things I could possibly do, and if you have any insight as a manager of what you would want to see artists doing during COVID-19. Or how I can come out of this on top and be more seen, even though I can't go play shows and really do interviews live.
Yeah, and just a quick question in what your question is. And, we did the same thing with my artists. We went really quiet for a month, other than sharing positive, messages, trying to drive awareness that was necessary, especially in my artist fan base, because we have way too many racists, which is really frustrating. Which puts them in a really weird scenario. But are you asking for how to speak to that message or just how to speak to your fans in this bizarre moment we're in the world?
Mostly, yeah, the second one. Mostly just things that I can say or do to, like what you're looking for as a manager from your artists to make sure they come out on top and that they're able to still connect with people and it not be a negative thing.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to stay authentic and keep creating and work on new ways to create. Like I can tell you're writing with other people. Have you worked on doing, and this isn't even a marketing thing, but it's equally as important. Have you done any Zoom writing sessions with other people or Zoom
No, I
production
haven't.
sessions? Don't let the confines of not leaving your house much stop you from doing what you normally do. Just
Okay.
figure out what you would want to be doing right now. Jeremy, stop that. Mute yourself. You're really annoying. We're trying to have a conversation here.
I have muted Jeremy.
Thank you. But just think about what you would want to do rather than what you can't do, and then figure out how to do it. I have an artist I manage who's just in the last year started to get very active in writing, and he's actually more active due to COVID than less active because he lives in a city where there aren't as many people to write with. And because of COVID, everybody had to relearn how to co-write. And
Yeah.
now he has the whole world open for co-writes rather than just making a trip to LA, Nashville, or New York. So
Right.
just think about what you want to do and then what technology can allow you to do it. So, and like just on that front, even further, there's a producer named Matt Squire who does a lot of work with a couple of my artists. And he's been doing remote recording sessions. I don't fully understand how he does it, but since you're a producer also, I would look for him on Instagram, send him a message.
I've seen it.
ask him-
It's really cool. Not
Yeah.
Matt Squire, but I've seen people do it, and it's really crazy how they're able to like
Yeah.
run sessions remotely.
But ask them how they do it. Like I can tell you, like Matt, for instance, is so excited to talk about his discovery and how he's doing it. And I'm sure other people are too. And it opens up two things. One, an additional networking without a true ask. The only ask is, hey, how are you doing this? I'm impressed with what you do. People love to talk about what they do well. So they're more likely to want to help you. And it could open a collaboration of some kind potentially. So look at how to do what you're doing, what you already do right. And then on the messaging side of things, just, find things like you're doing. Find those shows that you can be a part of. Maybe it's create your own festival with artists that you like, that you appreciate, that, can help you promote yourself. And you don't have to put your name any bigger in it. Just, find a cause that's important right now. And maybe you ask for donations to that cause around something that's important to you and ask your friends to play. Then it makes it about something bigger than just yourself.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that's great advice. Thank you.
Cool. No problem.
Yeah.
Any last questions before we say goodbye to you, Jackie?
Yeah, I think I have one more. A lot of them were actually answered today, which is fantastic. So I guess since I'm in, the market of looking for an artist manager soon, I was wondering, what is something that you wish more artists knew before working with a manager when they're at like that level of knowing that they need a manager? What are things that you wish that they knew about your role first so that I can make their job easier?
You answered your own question in a sense because
I did?
Well, you did, and I'll tell you why. And Jeremy's laughing because I think he knows too, because you're thinking about the work that's involved. You're not asking for somebody to come and just figure out your problems. You're looking for a partner. And I can tell in how you ask the question. And that's the most important thing is you're looking for a partner that is going to help you and you're going to help them and you're going to have a long-term relationship with. And the way you answer that question shows that you know that. And that's what we're all looking for. And I'll go a step further is reach out to me after this. Let's keep the dialogue going. I'm, being honest, I'm not looking to pick up any developing artists right now, but you're the type of artist I'd love to know and just, be around to, be another person to network with. So keep in touch.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah.
Same here. And I think like Randy said, you answered your own question. I think, the managers, every manager is different and it's a very entrepreneurial job. So everyone manages in a different way, acts, so the manager artist relationship is different for every artist. So it's kind of like, what's the manager going to be looking for? It's going to be, it's going to be a relationship that develops from asking questions, talking to the person and figuring out how they work, how you work. Is it comfortable? Are they doing what I need them to do that I'm not doing, vice versa? So it's, like Randy said, you kind of answered your own question, but every manager is different. It's not like you go to school and you're a lawyer or you're this, like it's a very, again, entrepreneurial job, because every artist is different, every situation is different, every genre of music's different, and every manager operates in a different way. So you asked the right question and kind of answering it yourself, and it's finding that person and having those conversations to see what they're looking for, what you're looking for.
I just want to throw in one other thing. When you're talking to managers, when and if that happens, or if one approaches you, make sure you feel good about it. It's like a relationship or a marriage. You're dating your girlfriend because you have synergies and see eye to eye. You're not with her, I assume, just because you have to have a girlfriend.
Right.
And look at it the same way with a manager. It's the same kind of relationship. And it's so important that it's a two-way relationship, which you clearly understand with how you describe that. So don't go to a manager just because they're a manager, even if they have a huge act. If they're an asshole and don't respect your art, even if they're a huge manager, you're going to end up miserable eventually.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. Thank you all so much for your time. I don't want to take up too much time on the panel. I know I had 15 minutes, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I really appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Very nice meeting you.
Hi, great meeting
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Stay in touch. Email us afterwards.
Will do.
Okay, wait. Yeah, all right. That tech happened. Awesome, guys. So any last thoughts that you have about what you wish artists would know? I feel like we covered everything that I could have thought of, but if there was anything lingering that you wish that you could tell the artists that are at the place that these guys are,
Yeah, I'll segue from the conversation that we just had, which is to understand that we're partners. We're here to work with you. We're not here to fix what doesn't work for you. We're here to help you grow your vision and execute on your vision. And if you don't have a vision already, there's nothing we can do for you.
excellent advice.
I look at it like we're all commissioned, really. You know, so if you're saying, hey, I want you to do absolutely everything for me and make it super simple and easy and carry this, you know, boulder up the hill for me, you probably need to work on your pitch.
Jeremy Holgerson, any last thoughts?
Same, you know, it's a partnership. It's, you know, everyone's working together and you're all working for the same vision, and you want everyone to know that, you know, they're going to be working as hard as you're going to be working as hard as them, and everyone's, you know, going for the same goal, working for the same goal as hard as they can, thinking about, you know, what's next every moment of the day for the artist, and them thinking about what they can do with their partners to move beyond.
Awesome. Jeremy Grace, can you please give us all the details people need to know about this year's online virtual launch conference and some live showcases, if I believe?
Yeah, we're going to run it exactly as we would any other year, only you can do it from the comfort of your own home. As it stands, just like from year one, every single artist that submitted for performance consideration, whether they're placed or not, is invited for free, and they'll all receive a code to log in and watch the entire conference panels, plus live performances at night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, July 23rd, 24th, and 25th. What I'm trying to accomplish here locally with 15, 16 acts a day and an outdoor park across from the hotel is as much a statement about I'm just not ready for live music to fold up the tent. Our state is green. I'm a COVID without a doubt. I'm extremely cautious, and I'm certainly no COVID denier. I think I've developed a way that we can get together in a limited capacity.
We lost you again, Jeremy.
Yep.
Charge up those ear pods.
I don't know if he can tell that we can't hear him.
Yeah, we could just have a conversation and he'll realize we can't hear him eventually.
I think what he was trying to say was he'll be wearing a mask, and other people that are smart will be also. And I love that he is figuring out an innovative way to make launch happen this year. And Jeremy, can you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I realize what's going on here.
We could speak for you.
Triggers of a pandemic, and someone keeps firing up a car outside, and my phone keeps connecting to it. It's great. Great.
That's awesome.
Will there be? Are you doing conference sessions like virtually, or is it?
Yes.
Okay, so the whole shebang. And people should
Yes.
go to
launchmusicconference.com, where they'll find out all about our speakers, etc. And I do believe this panel will air there as well during it.
You didn't tell me that.
Yep, you got it. You got it.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your time. You're all very busy sharing your expertise. And this is really, I'm thrilled with all the information we were able to pull together really precisely for emerging artists. And I think it's really going to help a lot of people's careers. So in addition, people get to see what a manager's thinking about, what a promoter's thinking about, what a manager's thinking about. So thank you guys very much for your time. I appreciate you so.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for having us.
This was fun. Thanks.